Hello, all you uggos. Today we're going to be reviewing The Ugly Stepsister, the new body horror movie that just got to Shudder and AMC Plus. Stick around, we'll break it down for you. Welcome to Horror Movie Talk.
Is this a metal thing?
Yes. Little taste.
David, what is this?
It's pretty thick.
Great.
I have to kill a lot of people. Just tell me what you want me to fuck.
I have big tits and a tiny vagina.
Oil me up, Daddy.
I can't believe that Bryce prefers big tits. Mistletoe alert. This is backcountry.
This guy was a real jerk.
How long can Hugo being pregnant?
Chomp, 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 chomp.
Oh, you're such a dick, David.
Okay, everybody, put on your corpse handling gloves.
Ew.
Hoodie Picasso. Horror.
Hello and welcome to Horror Movie Talk. I'm Bryce Hanson, the ugly stepsister, and with me is Maximilian Allen. He is
the other
Cinderella
ugly stepsister. I'm Cinderella today?
You're Cinderella.
Oh,
It's your fairy tale.
I get to go to the ball.
Today we don't have Sydney with us. They're doing trans things, I guess. I can't remember. What was Sydney doing this week?
I don't think Sydney gave us a reason for not showing up. They just said they couldn't come.
Okay. All right. Every week we review a single horror movie. New theatrical releases always get priority, but we also review older horror movies, both good and horrible. Make sure you rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes and all the places. Full video is available on YouTube, so check that out. Don't be a square. Be sure to share on all the places that you follow us with your friends. Also, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/horror movie talk. It's the equivalent of the adult section at your video rental store. So much bonus content. You can't get enough of horror movie talk, both old or new. There's even more of it on
Over
Patreon.
1,000 posts on our
If
Patreon.
you want to add your pee to the community pool, go to horrormovietalk.com or call 682-253-4468 and leave us a voicemail. So we got a great show today. We missed this one in theaters. It wasn't in theaters for very long, but we're reviewing The Ugly Stepsister. We'll start out by giving a brief review and our score for the movie. We score on a scale of 1 to 10. After we give our score, we'll get into spoilers and take a deeper dive into what we liked and hated about the film. And that's it. I was too lazy to do any kind of game or bit. So we're just going to talk about the movie and get out of here. I don't feel too bad since the last episode was like 2 hours long.
Yeah. Well, people come for the movie. Sometimes, back when I used to listen to horror movie talk, I'd always skip the games.
Yeah, I don't know why you would want to skip the guess this actor games.
Are you saying that I'm bad at those games?
Well, I think we're all bad at the games. I think there's a couple bits that are genuinely great, but I haven't done any of those in a while.
I think it's, some people love them, some people don't care for them, and that's fine. But people come here for the movie, so
yeah,
we'll talk about the movie.
Leave a comment below if you love the games or if there's a favorite game or any suggestions on what we should do after the review. All right, let's get on with it. The Ugly Stepsister can be found on AMC Plus or Shudder. My recommendation is just get AMC Plus. Don't get Shudder, just because AMC Plus contains Shudder.
Is AMC Plus more expensive than Shudder, though?
Yeah, but it's not that much more.
Mm-hmm.
And you get like all the AMC stuff like Walking Dead and Interview with a Vampire. I don't know. It seems worth it to me.
Okay.
So as the name suggests, The Ugly Stepsister is a retelling of the Cinderella story from the ugly stepsister's perspective. In this gritty, realistic telling, it starts out with the marriage of Cinderella's father and the revelation that both sides of the marriage are expecting great wealth from each other, but they're both actually very poor. And the stepmother's daughter, Elvira, dreams of marrying the prince and is given a chance by being invited to his ball. Her mother, knowing that an advantageous marriage is their only way out of poverty, plans on using her last money and her cunning to transform Elvira into a beauty. What follows is a series of visceral 19th century plastic surgeries, self-inflicted illness, and a series of insults that turn Elvira into a pitiable and sympathetic protagonist. The Ugly Stepsister is a clever and more complex retelling of the fairy tale that we all know and love. It's a more realistic exploration of the power dynamics of money, privilege, and beauty. It tells two sides of the same fairy tale. The original is really about overcoming poverty and class through natural beauty and magical helpers. This telling is about how, despite class and access to money, you still need to overcome beauty standards. None of the characters are particularly good, including Cinderella. Each has their own motivations, and Elvira is essentially a pawn in her mother's game. Max is going to argue that this isn't a horror movie, but it undeniably is. This is a movie at its core. This movie at its core is a body horror movie. It explores the brutal reshaping of Elvira's body through mechanical and organic means. She'll stop at nothing and sacrifice everything for her goal. It's very similar to The Substance. It explores a lot of the same themes. It's slightly less campy. It's a little more subtle. But if you like The Substance, I think you'd also like The Ugly Stepsister. Overall, is really well done. It's clever, it's brutal, and at times it's even funny. I really like this movie. It's worth seeing, even with subtitles. I give it a 9 out of 10.
Okay.
What do you say?
I hate to be the guy complaining about the genres all the time, because in actuality, I really don't care. I just think it's interesting to explore and worth exploring what makes something horror and what doesn't. In the end, I enjoyed the movie as well, and I have no beef against the movie. I don't have beef that you chose it. You say it's undeniably horror. I think it's undeniably a fairy tale movie, and fairy tales at their core have horror elements. So,
certain tellings of them. I mean, the Grimm version of Cinderella is actually really close to this telling.
Yeah.
And I think the difference is, like in Grimm's retelling, it contains the chopping off a toe to fit into the slipper, which is omitted from, Disney's version. Well,
the thing is, I think that nowadays we've kind of steered away from what a fairy tale is supposed to be, because we already have the genre of fantasy. Like, we have a realm where we can go in and talk about magical creatures, magic and different like worlds and stuff. So that's not necessarily what a fairy tale is. A fairy tale has to include certain elements about learning a lesson and being taught some type of moral. And usually it involves being taught that lesson in a dark and twisted way. And that's kind of what fairy tales have been for all of history up until Disney claimed them for their own. And now it's like a fairy tale is just a movie you put on for your kids, So I think the problem that I had with this being considered a horror movie is that, like, yes, there is horror elements, but it kind of is just telling the story how it's meant to be told. I mean, this is kind of just what a fairy tale is in my book. That being said, I did really enjoy it. I had a lot of fun with it. I don't think I enjoyed it as much as you did. 9 seems a little high, but it is a good movie. I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's a difference in tone and emphasis and focus that really makes it a horror movie for me. Because, like, yeah, I mean, in the original fairy tale, it's talks about the stepsister's chopping off her toe and putting her toe in, which is like, I mean, you sure to a little kid that might be horrific, but really it's kind of like, I think a lot of time fairy tales operate in the magical thinking world, or like an alternate thing where it's not taken as real, but in like a realistic depiction of what it would be like to chop off your toe is much different. It's a much more visceral experience. I think, you know, like, yeah, we had a conversation. Max brought this up on our group text, and you expressed your worry that, you know, fans of the genre, what they really want us to review is, you know, Jason movies and, you know, the slasher movies, which you're not necessarily wrong. There's a certain subsection of people that are going to watch this movie or listen to this episode and be like, it's not even horror. Like, where were the kills? And like, yeah, that's such a subsection of horror. Like, horror is such a large umbrella. Again, I've talked about this ad nauseum over the past 7 years, but you know, like suspense, thrillers, it's all kind of falls under this umbrella of, you know, being creeped out and feeling uneasy for a length of time. And I think it's better to have a big tent horror genre than just focus on slashers. And honestly, I just don't really have an interest in exclusively covering slashers because it's an uninteresting review. It's like, remember when he killed her by throwing the sleeping bag at the tree? That was cool. And then you just do that for another 30 minutes.
I agree. I like this movie a lot more than I like 90% of slashers I've seen. And I think we've kind of carved out a niche for ourselves where we are the horror movie podcast that's going to review movies like this. And there are, you know, a million different copycats that are all doing every single Jason movie, every single Friday the 13th, and every single, you know. So it's fun that we get to do something a little bit different.
Yeah. I think, you know, people are curious about these movies. Yeah, it's weird seeing like what gets a lot of listens or downloads from our episodes, because it's really counterintuitive. Like, I think one of our best recent episodes was The Woman in the Yard.
Yeah.
Just like, why? Like, I think it's genuinely like people are curious about whether it's worth seeing, you know, when it's new. And then, you know, a lot of the new releases get a lot of downloads. And I think this is one of those that might get some attention. All right.
We've had lots of people reach out to us and be like, please do The Ugly Stepsister. So there's obviously, you know, there's a demand for it.
Yeah, there's been a couple people that mentioned The Ugly Stepsister in our Facebook group. So yeah, I wanted to review it, and it was worth the time. You know what else is also worth the time? Going
Ads.
to Patreon and avoiding the waste of time that's advertisements like this one. You didn't want to listen to that. No one wants to listen to that gambling ad, I'm assuming. You should go to patreon.com/horror movie talk. And at the low price of $6.66, you can get early access to episodes without ads like this one.
Was it a Verbo ad?
That one was bespoke dog food ad.
Bespoke.
You know, you order organic dog food through, I don't know, roofer.com.
I always get Verbo ads. Just the same two Verbo ads over and over.
Or you could listen to this ad. That one was a Spanish ad for some reason. Yeah, anyways, other ways you can support the show is go to our shop at horrormovietalk.com/shop. Get our logo tees and some stickers and all that good stuff. Also, don't forget to check out our resident artist, Dustin Goebel. He's on Instagram at dgoebel00. That's at DGOEBEL00. He actually texted me on Facebook saying he wouldn't be able to do the next 2 weeks. And
okay.
I missed he said like, hey, if you can get me the next 2 weeks by Wednesday, I could pump it out. But I didn't see that until Friday. So you'll feel the absence of Dustin Goebel on these next 2 episodes.
Yeah. And you know what? He's probably busy. He's working on, I won't tell too much about it right now because it's not ready, but he has a project that he's working on that he's putting a lot of heart and soul into, and he's really excited about. So
yeah, he's, we'll definitely plug it when he's ready to plug it. But yeah, stay tuned and follow Dustin on Instagram. If you want to leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. Listen to this ad. And now I'll thank you for listening. Let's get into spoilers.
Do you think the joke where we just force our listeners to listen to like 10 ads in the mid-roll is getting old?
You don't like that? See, I don't know.
I do kind of like it, but I don't know.
I don't know. Like I feel it's like the best thing to do because then they know when to skip.
Yeah.
Like I'd rather they know when to skip than to have like the flow interrupted, you know?
Yeah, I agree.
And I know people complain about it, but they're going to complain. The same people complaining about like there's so many ads because it feels like a lot because it's in the mid-roll are going to really complain the same way if there's the same number of ads, but it interrupts the show 5 times, you know?
Mm-hmm. Hey, we've told everyone that once we get enough patrons, we'll cut out the ads. Like we don't want them. We just need to keep the lights on the show. So
yeah. Yeah, and that caused 0 movement on our Patreon activity. So,
yep.
You know,
they must not care about the ads that much.
Turns out the people that complain about listening to ads are not the people that are interested in paying $6 a month to remove ads. So, you know, I get it. I'm stingy with supporting free podcasts. But you know,
I would never do it.
I've done it before. So anyways, we start out in Swedlandia, and there's a wedding. So this starts a little earlier than the regular fairy tale does. Elvira is the ugly stepsister, and she's introduced to us reading the prince's poetry. She's in like her own little dreamland. But what happens is her mother marries this supposedly wealthy man, and it's revealed that he's not actually wealthy, that he was marrying her for her money. And he dies suddenly right after being an asshole to Elvira, throwing her a
I couldn't
piece of
believe
cake
that.
in her face.
I was mouth agape at that. I was like, it's such an awkward moment because they just got married, but they really know nothing about each other. They don't know each other's personalities. And immediately he shows his hand that he's a complete dick to her children and thinks it's hilarious. And it's so awkward.
Yeah. So like it's revealed that like, yeah, that he's in a huge amount of debt and they're planning on using the mother's money to pay it off. And he dies immediately, just coughs blood and keels over before the credits even.
I think it's assumed that he's poisoned, right, by the mother.
I didn't get that.
I mean, it never shows anything, but like that's kind of the vibe, right? Like she wants his money. He dies the night of the
Yeah.
wedding.
Yeah, but I don't know. I mean, it would still be more advantageous to her to keep him alive, probably.
Would it?
I mean, yeah, I mean, especially at the time. This is like 19th century. It's actually like a little unrealistic that she would even be able to own anything at this time. Like if he died, like I don't even think that women had rights to retain any kind of estate. Or
It would just go to
like
next
holdings.
of kin or something.
Yeah, it would go to next of kin or just go to, like to community property or something. Like it was pretty rough back then. But in this telling, like they're able to. I mean, I guess it's still theirs. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. Yeah, the tone of this movie, I wouldn't put it past it to say that she poisoned him.
But it's not explicitly said. Like he just dies immediately, which is great because, you know, now she doesn't have to have sex with him.
Right. And then it's revealed that like all of the land and like livestock is being
repossessed
to pay off his debts. And so there's kind of this like understanding that they have zero money. Or almost zero money, because the mother seems to come up with money whenever she needs or promise of money. A lot of it's like the promise of money.
Well, it kind of seems to me like they at least have enough money. I mean, they live in a castle, right? And at the end of the day, they could sell the castle and get like a regular home, but they don't. And it seems like it's not that they have zero money. It's that they have this dream of being incredibly wealthy and they are struggling to attain it. And that's what they're after.
Yeah. So,
can we talk for a second about
sure the time period? I had to Google it, but it says like late 1800s. So it's around the Regency period in England. But that's
interesting. You'd assume it was like way earlier.
Yeah, I think like, I mean, in terms of like topic of getting married off to have money, I mean, that's like what 90% of Jane Austen's novels are about, which is set in the Regency period. So, yeah, it feels like it's probably in the late 19th century, but also it could be much earlier than that. It doesn't ever state it explicitly.
Maybe it's just living in a castle that makes me think it's like the 1600s, you know, like, it's just something that at least, I mean, this is it's
in a time period where there's pompous royalty and people are trying to marry into station.
Is it Swisslandia? Is that where they are?
Swedlandia.
Okay. Can we talk for a second about how the ages of the daughters, because it's so hard to tell. I mean, at one point they do say Elvira is 18. But in the beginning of the movie, she looks 12. And
not to me, but
you don't think so?
I mean, maybe she was acting like a 12-year-old, maybe a little bit.
Okay, maybe like you could. To me, she looked at most like 14. And as they change her looks, she starts to look older, and then I'm like, okay, I could see that girl's 18. But I don't know, like it was
she
strange.
Starts out with braces too, so that's like, you know, that's a little younger usually in our day and age when you have braces. So there's three daughters. There's Elvira, and that's the mother's daughter, and then she also has a sister that's younger than her, that's prepubescent or pubescent, I guess, named Alma. And the father's daughter, who eventually becomes Cinderella, is named, it's another A name, Agnes. And so like at this early stage in the movie, Agnes is like kind of uppity, and she is upset at, you know, her stepsister and stepmother, that they're just like really kind of gross in how they're handling this death, because they're making it all about them, and they're not letting her like have a funeral for her father, and it seems like they're just out to get the father's money. And like she's kind of an interesting character, where she starts out as kind of an uppity bitch, you know, kind of like the snooty one, and slowly the turntables turn. And
she never really becomes kind, but she becomes less of a bitch.
Well, she becomes Cinderella in that she's literally like forced into labor for them, and they just look down at her. And I found it interesting that they actually give kind of a reason for that in this movie, that it's not just they're bad people and they're assholes to her. They are that, but also there's kind of a, you know, cultural reason for that as well, explained in the movie. So anyways, early on, you know, Agnes has all the beautiful dresses, and she's beautiful and has all this, you know, comes from privilege, and Elvira is just naturally not as beautiful, and kind of a dreamer.
You could say it. She's an uggo.
She's an uggo. She's got a terrible hairstyle. I love that they kept the hairstyle from the Disney Disney Stepsisters.
The hairstyle's really bad. She also like doesn't have a neck. Her chin just like connects straight to her chest. You know what I'm saying?
Sorry, say it again. I was reading my notes.
She's got round face, where it's like there's no neck because it just absorbs into the round face.
Yeah. See, that's the thing. Like, I did not think that she was very ugly. Like, that's where some of this movie is lost on me. I'm like, especially she, like, when she undresses and she's looking at her fat body, I'm like, damn girl, you look fine to me, you know.
Well, I think she doesn't look ugly per se. She looks like a kid. Like, that it's like they took an 18 to 20-year-old actress and dressed her like a child.
Yeah, it's more like she's in her awkward phase.
She's awkward, yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, the you know, proclaimer or whatever comes around saying that the prince is going to have this ball, and they're so excited. Elvira is like excited because she's been dreaming of marrying this prince and looking longingly at the castle. And
she reads his poetry. I love that he is so snooty, has published to his kingdom a set of his own poems.
And the poems are kind of terrible.
Yeah.
You know? And so Agnes, you know, gets the first invitation, and she's got this long, illustrious name, you know, with all these titles and stuff. And then they ask what Elvira's name is, and she says Elvira. He's waiting for a last name, and then Agnes goes, she's my stepsister. And she says, writes down Von Stepsister.
Surely she has a last name, right? Or is that not?
I think what they're trying to say is that the marriage is so new that Elvira doesn't even know what her last name is. Oh, you know, because she's got this probably some version of Agnes's same last name.
That makes sense.
But it would take, 2 minutes to say it.
Speaking of the guy who comes and proclaims the ball, how long has it been since you watched Shrek 2?
Been a while.
Okay, Shrek 2 is one of my favorite movies of all time. This is from Shrek 2, by the way. This is the ugly stepsister. One of my favorite moments is when they come to proclaim the invitation to Far, Far Away, and one of the trumpeteers goes rogue and starts going and just like breaks it down, and then he gets smacked in the head. That whole movie is gold. We need to review Shrek 2.
Okay. Since we reviewed this one, we need to review Shrek 2.
Yeah. I mean, it's got an ogre. That's horror.
Yeah, true. It's got a dragon. So it's taken as like an opportunity that Elvira actually has a chance to get married to the prince, which throughout the film is kind of like, that's the impressive thing, is that they genuinely believe that Elvira has a chance, and they're trying, which is like, really, she has a 1 out of 50 chance, maybe, if all things are equal.
To be fair, by the ball, she is gorgeous.
Yeah. They put in a lot of work. So it starts out with a nose job, which is the first like body horror moment. So it's this medieval plastic surgeon from France, and he's like, gives them a catalog of like, what kind of nose should she get? And he's so like nice and foppish, and then starts the surgery, and it's just like, it's great. Just counts to 3, like 1, 2, 3, crunch, like a hammer and a chisel on her nose, and takes out like these comically large pliers to pull out what I'm assuming is cartilage or something from her nose. And then for the majority of the film, she's wearing this like brass nose piece tied to her head to reshape her nose. And it's great. So that's like the first thing that sets the tone of like, yeah, they're going to make some sacrifices. She's going to go through whatever she can to make herself beautiful.
Beauty is pain. I wonder how far back plastic surgery for cosmetic reasons goes.
Yeah, that's a good.
Also, why did they not give her any form of anesthesia? I mean, they don't have like painkillers back then, but they have alcohol.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, eventually they use some medicine. The next time we see the plastic surgeon, he's sewing in eyelash extensions directly into her eyes.
I couldn't believe that. They couldn't come up with glue?
Yeah. Glue is very expensive, Max.
Yeah.
No, I think and then that surgery he had some cocaine, to which he applied to the eyes, which is interesting.
I didn't know that cocaine could be used like that. Is it like a numbing agent?
Yeah, I guess.
He just rubs it on her skin. Or maybe it just feels really awesome.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's too bad Sydney's not here.
It's absorbed through the sinuses, and it can be absorbed through teeth, like in movies when they're like rubbing it on their teeth.
They don't rub it on their teeth, Bryce. They rub it on their gums.
On their gums, whatever. I don't know.
It doesn't absorb through teeth. I'm sorry, bud. It absorbs through the gums.
All right. Well,
that's what happens when you put in a Zyn.
So apparently, ancient civilizations had reconstructive procedures, including skin grafts and nose reconstruction, as early as 800 BC.
Reconstruction is different, though. I'm wondering, like, when people were like, I want to look hot, break my nose.
16th century, an Italian surgeon considered the father of plastic surgery, Tagliacozzi, described techniques for reconstructing noses using skin grafts.
I
don't know. Anyway, so regardless, this is a brutal form of
It is.
plastic surgery. But really, is it that different now? Like,
I mean, they just knock you out.
Yeah, the only difference is that they knock you out and they have like more elaborate bandages, I guess. The reality is like, yeah, surgery is literally surgeons are just mechanics for a body. They're just shoving stuff in or pulling stuff out.
I've known a few people who have gotten nose jobs, and they genuinely look hot. They made, sometimes I'm a big fan of lots of different shapes of noses, but sometimes it's just too big. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I get it why some people feel that they need to have plastic surgery. I'm just like usually opposed to it because it's usually based on an internal hang up more than anything external. Like, I think, I don't know. Unless
my
it's
thing is like, if you have a problem with your body that like genuinely causes you discomfort and it's like continuously upsetting to you, get it changed. Like, if it makes you feel better, great. But also, like changing your body over and over to appear more and more beautiful is kind of sickening to me.
I think the part where it loses me completely is maintaining youth at all costs.
Yeah.
Like that's the dangerous thing. It's like, no, just like it's I think it's like right now there's this trend that was kind of kicked off by the Kardashians of like 20-year-olds that are beautiful getting plastic surgery that makes them look 35.
Yeah.
It's like, just stop. Just stop doing that. Like, there's so many, like, I mean, the vanity that's been created by social media and expectations around beauty is very off-putting to me. But anyways, like there's a lot of practicality in this. Like, it's literally like a transactional thing. It's and this movie explores, like I said, it's like two sides of the same coin. The original fairy tale is about like, oh, she's this oppressed, underclass, girl, but at least she's beautiful. So if you're given the trappings of wealth, so you can appear like you belong, your beauty will shine through and the prince will choose you. And
kind of a terrible message, to be honest.
Which is kind of a terrible message.
You're poor, but at least you're hot.
Yeah. And then this one is like similar, that because they're still not wealthy. They still don't actually have wealth or class.
But they have the appearance of wealth.
They have the appearance of class and wealth, but the bottom line, and even what it says in the fairy tale originally, is like, it doesn't matter if you're ugly. Like, you're still, no one's going to choose you if you're ugly, which is, kind of like the more interesting fairy tale is like, oh yeah, this is reality and it kind of sucks. So they're trying to improve that at all costs. And so like the main ways that they did that was the nose surgery, and then like this, it wasn't a dance instructor. I wasn't sure of who it was. It
was like the etiquette instructor. So she has a dance instructor and then one that teaches them how to like be at a ball and like appear. And she like took Elvira under her wing because she saw a lot of herself in Elvira and gave her, another, kind of amulet of power in the form of a tapeworm egg. And just said, you can eat whatever you want. The tapeworm will eat it all. And so that's like the majority of the tension in the movie is like this tapeworm growing inside of her and her getting more and more malnourished, but also thinner, know. And I do think this was a thing that happened. Yeah. I'm sure.
Back then.
I mean, they really did themselves dirty by showing her naked in the mirror because I mean, perfection, right? Like there's you can't
I think
get
most
better
straight
than that.
guys would be like, it's nice, you know, it's not. I mean, it wasn't like, I mean, eventually when like she's shown how thin she is after the fact, like, yeah, you can start seeing her ribs, you know, you can start like seeing more, you know, of a shape because she's lost like all the baby fat. But I think like if you're going to ask any red-blooded straight man, like the first showing of Elvira is like, looks pretty good. But then it does the thing where it shows her sitting down and shows like a roll of skin. You're like, that's supposed to be disgusting. And it's like, no, that's what a body looks
That's
like
what
when you're
people
seated.
look like.
Yeah, it's just like, it doesn't, like, that's the crazy thing. It's like, are women thinking that you need to be so thin that it has to be flat all the way down until it creases into your like upper thigh? Like, that's not possible. Your skin will scrunch up and fold at that point.
Also, like the vast majority of guys are very interested in a little bit of chub. Like, it's not a problem.
Right. Like the difference between like an extra 15 pounds is negligible to most guys. But I don't know. You know, I mean, you also can't argue like the women in bathing suits that are, you know, 0.1 body fat percentage, like those are the ones you're going to notice immediately, probably.
Sure. I mean, the societal expectations are there for a reason, right? Because we've built them into our brains. So they're not nothing for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, I think the point is like if Elvira was your daughter and she was feeling bad about her body, you would be like, honey, like, you're beautiful. It's fine. Like, but not in this case. Her mom is power hungry and ladder climbing. So, yeah, the
tapeworm is horrifying. I would go through all of these surgeries before I ate a tapeworm.
Yeah.
Do you think I have worms in my body? What's the percentage of people just living life don't know how they have worms in their body?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know. It's like one of those things where it's like, yeah, you probably have like 1 billion viruses and bacteria in your body, but the load is kept down to where it doesn't actually matter. Your immune system is killing them off enough. But I'm not sure about worms.
When they pull out the worm, it is truly horrific.
Yeah. It's like circus. I was sitting there just going because it was literally like a magician, like
yeah,
until like pull out this giant chunk where it's this bloated tapeworm at the bottom. Yeah. So throughout the movie, like her mother is giving her like all this stuff, and I think some of it's like the mother says this costs us a lot of money. And then eventually, I think when it gets to the dress part, she buys her an expensive dress. She says, you wouldn't imagine how much this costs. But then it's implied that the mother just sold her body for it. And then like some of the future things was like, it was the promise of money. I think the dressmaker even says like, you're going to make us a lot of money.
Yeah.
To Elvira. So that's also super impressive to me that the mother was able to convince enough people that like Elvira is a shoo-in for this marriage. Like, as long as you help me, like I'll make it worth your while after the marriage. And I don't know, if I was a merchant and be like, come to me when you have the money. Peace out. but yeah, so that's what's going on. And then in between all this, it's shown that Agnes is in love with this stable hand.
Mm-hmm.
And at some there's a couple great scenes when Elvira, who is a virgin, like is confronted with the realities of sex, which is also like,
truly a gratuitous sex scene. I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
Are we allowed to do that?
Yeah, well, the first thing where like her illusions are shattered is she actually stumbles upon the prince. I think that's the first thing.
Yeah.
The prince is out hunting with his bros,
with his boys,
and they're
just talking dirty.
They're just talking dirty about like fucking sluts, you know, like having whores, and like I think the prince even said like the skin was coming off his dick, which like he's probably got something. Maybe you don't want to fuck the prince. You know?
Well, I mean, it was probably just a euphemism for like, I'm having so much sex that like it hurts, you know, like basically, but
yeah.
But yes, also get that checked out if your skin is sloughing off your penis.
Yeah. And then they see Elvira and say that she's a no-go, which is a bummer. But also, I mean, it just basically shatters your illusion that the prince is a good guy, that he's actually an asshole. And
the
Elvira
interesting
probably
part
shouldn't
is
still want to marry him.
Yeah, the interesting part is that Elvira does not change her view of the prince at all from this encounter.
Right.
Like, he looks her dead in the eyes and be like, I would never have sex with that thing.
Yeah.
And she like runs away, but then she's still like enamored by him. And she like she reads his poetry, and it's like that kid probably didn't even write that poetry. That kid is a little monster.
Probably used ChatGPT.
Yeah.
To write it. Yeah, and then the other scene is she stumbles upon Agnes getting fucked by the stable hand, and that's like a full-on education for her. She sees, you know,
it's a full-on education for anyone who watches that. It was very it shows it all. Yeah.
Yeah, you're showing an erect penis, and them fucking. And it's great because the whole thing about this ball is that the prince is searching for his virgin, and like the poetry that Elvira keeps repeating is about like, oh, where is my virgin?
It's all about virgins.
Yeah. And so that's the other currency. And so when the mother finds out that Agnes has been fucking the stable hand, she immediately like, you know, kind of throws her out of the good graces of the house and forces her to go, you know, be a laborer for the household, you know, with the other, you know, housemaids and stuff. And so that's when she transforms into Cinderella, is because like the consequences of her having sex outside of marriage, which back then would like, it's a big deal. Like it's you can't still be in polite society if that's known about you. You know, and
yeah, you got a scarlet letter. I wonder where and why. I mean, this is like a question as old as time, but like where the obsession with marrying a virgin comes from, because like I can see like when you're a kid and you haven't had sex and you're like, yeah, like one day I'd love to like marry someone who hasn't had sex and we'll have sex together for the first time. It'll be great. But like, does anyone actually think that way past the age of like 16?
Well, I think it's really just closely tied to the church or like, you know, religion at the time, which is like purity culture, and really like the virginity as kind of a currency. You know, because it's viewed as the most pure, it's viewed as the most, you know, innocent, and probably also viewed as the most like malleable and controllable. If I'm going to be more
definitely cynical. Yeah,
it's like,
especially if you are not keeping yourself pure, if like you're having sex with lots of women and then you are like specifically looking for a virgin, like that to me signals you want to control this person in as many ways as you can, including through sex.
Yeah. I mean, it was an expectation. I'm sure. I mean, of course, people had sex outside of marriage, but yeah, it was verboten, and you know, it was not looked down well upon, even with men. But yeah, I think it was usually like a separation of class of like, oh yeah, if you had sex outside of marriage, you're in a different class now. Like you're not in polite society. Your options are limited. You can continue being a whore or, you know, a concubine or something, but you're not going to like marry and have kids inside of the aristocracy. So yeah, there's that.
This is kind
of
also
gross, probably actually a real practical thing is at the time, it's probably the only way to ensure that someone isn't diseased. You know?
Yeah. No, that's fair. Did you know, this is kind of gross, but it's just an interesting factoid that like in ancient Israel, when people would get married, they would throw a big party where they would get married. And then at the party, while everyone's chowing down on food and drinking wine, the couple would go to a back room, have sex with like the parents waiting outside the door, ready to confirm that she's a virgin. And then after they have sex, the guy comes out, wipes his penis with a cloth and shows it to everyone, being like, look at the blood. It's so gross.
Yeah, there's a lot of wild like traditions and stuff when it comes to that, you know, the virginity culture in olden times. Like it's, yeah. I mean, even like, you know, with like the royalty, it was witnessed. Like it had to be.
Yeah, to make sure.
You had to have witnesses, like at a baptism, you know, someone sitting next to the bed and being like, there's only the tip went in. Like, you got to like, nope, that wasn't legit. Try again.
Try again. Yeah. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it was a different time. So, yeah, so what's really interesting about this film is no one is really likable. Like Elvira is probably the closest, but also she's not likable either.
Well, her sister Alma is likable because she, from the beginning, kind of rejects this idea that she needs to like change herself to become beautiful or like beautify herself for a prince or like some man. Like she steers pretty clear of that whole thing throughout the whole movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, when it's revealed that she had her period, like it's a real scary time for her because she's been able to separate herself from this world, you know, since then.
Well,
you know.
I think if her mom found out that she had her period, she would have immediately put her in all of the things that Elvira's doing.
Right. So, yeah, what's really interesting is Elvira becomes unlikable because it is the same story. Like Elvira is bad to Cinderella, you know, Elvira is bad to Agnes after she's brought low and, you know, steals all of her, you know, clothes, makes Cinderella like bathe her and comb her hair and like is literally trying to keep her from being an option at this ball.
This is something that I just confirmed this to make sure I wasn't crazy, but the name Alma means virgin, which is just kind of a fun little thing to throw in there.
Interesting. So yeah, I mean, it's overall like it's exploring these, you know, changing the outside of yourself to fit what's inside. It's really unfortunate that we don't have Sydney here because it's just ironic that, you know, Sydney is going through a lot of changes themselves to match what's on the inside. And that's really what Elvira is going through in this movie. And,
so they probably would have had a lot to say about this movie, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah, the theme of changing your body because you're dissatisfied with it or changing your body for utility, for social status, is really interesting. I mean, I think everyone does it to some effect.
Yeah.
I mean, even for myself, seeing the tapeworm egg, I'm like, oh yeah, it's just like Ozempic, you know, you just,
It's a terrifying Ozempic is what it is.
It's a cheaper Ozempic.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, again, like, it's an interesting balance to make of like self-acceptance and accepting your own body for what it is, like living in your body, and also just like as a society accepting differences, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's sad that, like, you know, the reality is ugly people are, you know, second class citizens.
Sure. Yeah. There's
You
a
know?
lot of privileges that you miss out on for not, you know, you get treated differently based on how you look. That's for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of like stuff talked about, like racism and, ableism and like all these different things where it's like people are treated differently. But the one overarching one is beauty trumps a lot of that. Like,
Yeah.
like you can overcome a lot of prejudice if you're a beautiful person, no matter what your situation is, you know? So yeah, sad, but it's a reality, that this is exploring. So anyways, we get to the ball, and it's the culmination of all of this, through Elvira's like sacrifice and hard work. She actually almost accomplishes.
Yeah.
Because the prince picks her, tells her that she's beautiful, and then instantly Cinderella shows up and fucks it all up for poor Elvira. I love that.
I think, I mean, Agnes has more of like what the typical like society expects a beautiful woman to look like. Like she's blonde, she's tall, all these things. I actually think Elvira is more beautiful at this ball, even though they're all wearing extremely ugly clothes.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, they're both beautiful, but like like you said, like Agnes is more in line with traditional beauty standards, I guess.
Yeah.
But I love how they treat Cinderella and the fairy tale, because like they don't shy away from it being a magical fairy tale, even in this movie that's trying to like go for realism. She goes to her father's, tomb where he's just rotting with maggots all over him, and then the ghost of her mother shows up, a la fairy godmother, and this dress is repaired and sewed for her, and like the maggots turn into silkworms and sew this beautiful dress for her. Just kind of a interesting take on the helpful animals. And then she shows up, and yeah, of course Cinderella wins in the end. The final like part of it is again the lost slipper, and it is in one of the original tellings of Cinderella, like the stepsister cutting off a toe to fit into the shoe. And that is like the final brutal scene, is her literally chopping off her toes. And it's
just
so
all
visceral.
The piggies at once, just
all the piggies. And her mother is like, "Oh, you cut off the wrong foot."
that hurts. That hurts.
And then she chopped. I love the mother chopping off the toes, and then like, the chef sweep of just like sweeping the toes away, and you hear like the of the little piggies rolling across the floor. Oh. And then the prince appears, or the prince appears with the slipper, and Elvira desperately tries to get down to try on the slipper. But she can't walk because she just chopped off her toes. And it's just a brutal ending to this movie where she chips her tooth, she rolls down the stairs, breaks her,
Breaks her
new
nose.
and like just sees as Cinderella is taken off by the prince, and the prince is like even quotes the poem that she's kept reciting. She's like, "Oh, beautiful virgin, how I've longed for thee."
Yeah.
And then
Well, she has to she slides face first down all of the stairs, and once she reaches the bottom, she sees Cinderella being whisked away.
yeah, it's just brutal. Very, very dark humor in it. And I don't know. I loved it. I thought it was done really well. I thought the writing in the movie was really well done. They did like a really good balancing act of kind of the realism and the fairy tale and the absurd and the over the top elements, where it didn't feel cartoonish ever. It didn't feel very campy, but it was just towing the line of going too far on this stuff. And it still felt like, cartoony enough to where like the evil characters were mustache twirling enough to make it interesting and more like a fairy tale. But again, no one's super likable, and no one's like perfect in this. Cinderella is not a virgin, and she definitely like tossed off this love of her life for the utility of marrying a prince. And, everyone is trying to vie for the next station up in their life, using whatever they can at hand. So it's a really interesting movie.
Yeah. It's surprising that the ball wasn't used more as a tool, because there's lots of rich young men at this ball. Like,
right.
Everyone wants to marry the prince, but any of these men are going to set you up for life. They're like dukes and, like people with lots of status and money. And she's just shrugging off all these guys because she has to marry the prince.
Right.
And only one can marry the prince, and it was Cinderella.
Yeah. And the mother like even tells Elvira, just like, snap out of it. Like, there's a lot of other men out here. Like, shake that ass, get us some money. And, yeah. So anyways, I really liked it. I thought it was like, it delivers on the promise of being like an interesting retelling of a fairy tale.
It does.
And yeah, really uneasy moments, like a lot of like brutal body horror that like just makes you shrink into the couch. Just be like, oof, that sucks.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun though. I did enjoy it. I think that people were right to want to hear a review about it. And if you haven't seen it yet, go check it out. If you just want to spend a little bit of money, get Shudder for like a week. You can get like a free trial for like 14 days or something like that. You can watch it there, or you can go spend a little bit more money for AMC Plus.
I'm going to look it up. Yeah, okay. So Shudder is $8.99 per month, and the ad-free plan on AMC Plus is $9.99. So it's a difference of a buck.
Wow, that is like way. I thought the AMC Plus would be like $13-14.
Yeah, and the monthly ad-supported plan is $6.99. So like, if you can watch ads, it's cheaper than Shudder.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So, anyways, all right. Well, that's the episode for today. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to our new patrons. Did we get any new patrons?
I think we've gotten a couple since last time we talked about it.
Off some people.
My phone has 1%. I'm trying to load our patrons.
Thanks, Gregory G, for becoming a member. Sonder Moments for joining us free. Yeah, you can also join the Patreon free. Like sometimes we miss mislabel stuff, and you'll get some of the crumbs of the bonus content. And sometimes we announce stuff there early. So check us out. Max K, thanks for becoming a member. MGS7785. And if anyone else I've forgotten to thank you for supporting the show. It really is the best way to support the show. And the other ways that don't cost any money is to share the show with a friend, leave a review, leave a star rating on Apple Podcasts. It was really helpful. And go to our website at horrormovietalk.com. If you want to leave us a voicemail, call 682-253-4468. 68. Turned Scottish there for a minute.
You know, a little one last plug for the Patreon. The bonus movie for the month is going to be, we did a review on Slumber Party Massacre, so I think that's one that people will want to check out. Should be up in the next week or so.
Yeah, on the one of the tiers, we've got a bunch of pretentious reviews where it's just a movie review. We leave out all the trappings other than just talking about the movie. And we got a ton of like older movies in there, stuff that's fallen through the cracks. I think Psycho we review way back in the day.
Yeah. And it's a different format. Like, we try to put on a show here for the main episodes, but the pretentious reviews are more just like just some friends talking, about a movie. Yeah. So
yeah, check that out. Anyways, we'll see you next time. Thanks for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good day, sir. Good day, sir. You lose. You get nothing.
Is that a raincoat? Yes, it is.
I just took a stroll through the scraggly woods.
He had no face.
Horror!
Wow, that didn't sound good.